We'll call the meeting to order. Thank you for inviting us. Littleforth. We'll begin by having introduction. I'm Alan Rasmussen, Chair of the Kuching Economic Development Authority. This is the Vice Chair.
Vice Chair. They appointed me Vice because I know quite a bit about it. But I'm Mike Hansen, Birchdale. I represent the rural area on the Keda board.
Wade Pavlik, Commissioner, soon to be a citizen.
Paul Nevinen, Director.
Kyra Hasbargen, Secretary.
Jackie Nagel, Lead for America, AmeriCorps Service Member.
Carol Patrick. Sonia Pellin, Little Fork City Administrator.
Lauren Lehman, City Council.
And Darcy.
You don't get out of this.
All right. The first item is to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could, I'd like to add Jackie Nagel on to talk a little bit about her new expanded role with KTI, with AmeriCorps. It's kind of an interesting development, and invited her down to talk a
All
little bit
right.
about her role.
And where do you want to put that in the agenda?
Right after the Treasurer's report, I would think would be,
All right.
if we could.
All right, that's an addition. Any other additions, deletions? All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
The agenda is approved. Next is the minutes from,
I didn't get a first or
pardon?
I didn't have a first or a second. Did we have a first?
Oh,
I'll move on the agenda.
Second.
Thank you.
with the addition. And we're not going to vote again.
Okay. Thank you.
The next item is to approve the minutes from the August 22nd meeting. You've all had a chance to look at those. Do we have any additions, corrections, deletions?
I'll move on, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. Next item is the treasurer's report, but you said Treasurer Holden will be here.
He'll be here momentarily. He's,
All right.
with communication. He's
So we'll wait for that. Ms. Nagel.
Hi there. I'm just going to stay seated unless you want me to stand.
No, that's
Sure.
fine. Real informal.
So, for those of you that aren't aware, there's a citizens committee called Kuching Technology Initiative in our community. They've been working hard for the last several years, since 2018, to try and bring better technology to Kuching County, along with other incentives for intelligent community and protecting the 6 or 8 pillars, I can't remember of progress for communities. And recently, they became aware of an AmeriCorps service opportunity to bring someone into the community. Kuching County supported that by signing off on the contract, because KTI is not a nonprofit, as certified nonprofit, and we lacked a candidate to apply for the position, so I volunteered to apply because it was such a great opportunity for Kuching as a whole. So I'm now the active service member for 1 year. My service started at the beginning of August, and I'll run through the end of July. My goals are to try and continue that work that KTI has started with bringing broadband internet access, affordable broadband internet access, to everyone in our county. and then to also work towards providing them with devices and teaching them how to use them. So I haven't been on the job very long, and I'm currently wearing two hats because I'm also running for county commissioner, and I have to keep those two things completely separate. So until the election's over, I'm not holding any town hall meetings related to the AmeriCorps service. But I am working behind the scenes. We're working on more broadband projects. So I'm here, and I'm probably going to tap each one of you individually as a resource throughout the next year to try and find ways to reach the community, gathering points, that sort of thing. So right now I'm just attending meetings, gathering information, making connections.
Thank you.
If I could,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, KTI's been around, as you said, since 2018, and it's just a volunteer citizens committee that, with the goal of trying to bring broadband into all corners of Coochin County, as well as to utilize technology. It's one thing to have broadband; it's another if you don't have the right tools to make it work. So it's been actually a pretty active group, and we've done surveys that actually have helped bring broadband into underserved areas. We've got great relationships with Paul Bunyan and Midco and all the providers, actually, and Jackie's been a real key to this point, and so she's a natural to assume this position. It's interesting, if you've got a group that meets once a month and they're volunteers, you know how things can slip away, and you know, you have to have somebody that's actually working the details or working, and this allows us that opportunity to provide a point of contact and not a full-time person, but a person that's tasked with doing that. So I'm looking forward to more good things coming as a result, and I know the county's been supportive of KTI and this body as well, so I'm looking forward to the work that Jackie's going to do with the group.
So much for retirement, huh?
Yeah, you'll see.
That's good. Good for you.
But I know we have come a long way, and I think Little Fork has seen some improvements in both carriers and performance of broadband, right? I mean, it's been
I think so.
some of the outlying areas are still,
It's coming, and it's still, they're still putting in lines and still connecting households. So it's a work in progress.
and that's the thing too. I mean, there's a lot of programs and there's a lot of dollars to it, but it's very competitive. And to try to identify those underserved areas and make sure there's enough people that are interested in buying the service is kind of that tricky balancing act that the providers have to. But we've seen some real progress in Cooch County.
Do we have any questions for? Thank you very much for being here and for explaining that. That's very nice. Next item is the director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Director Nevin.
Yeah, I've got just a few things I'd like to just keep reporting on. And we're working with a group out of the Twin Cities that's a global logistics provider. They've got two facilities in the Twin Cities. And we've been working with them for a year now to have them site a facility here in northern Cooch here, just in International Falls, just east of town. And the city's got the EDA's got a multimodal site that's basically prepped for this kind of activity. It's got a rails spur into the site. And so Onesimus, OMG is the name of the company. They are looking at putting up a 65,000 square foot warehouse that's rail served, creating 35 to 40 jobs initially to handle incoming freight and then outgoing import-export, primarily rail, but there's going to be a truck component to it. So we've been working with them for a year. They've got investors lined up. We've been very deliberate about letting them, make the case and then, be ready to the point where the city felt comfortable. So they're working on a developer's agreement. We had a conference call with their attorney and Steve Shermone for the city, and they've agreed in principle to a lot of the, basically the developer's agreement says the city is going to provide this, the company will provide this. Basically, it's jobs and it's investment in the facility. It's a $12 million investment. So I'm pleased with, things take a little longer, but the fact that these guys have got the finance piece put together and the various pieces of this, because it's fairly complicated. And we've not been able to do anything with that foreign trade zone for 20 years. And this might be, we're hoping, the impetus to start some additional activity. So I hope to have that completed by, before the end of the month here, and that will be another milestone with this developers agreement. So, any questions on that? Also, the Main Street Revitalization Grant that we've been working on with the Northland Foundation is the grantee for the state dollars through deed for this program. They created their own application online, and it's now available. We're encouraging previous applicants to go online and apply. There's an October 14th deadline. And I think we had 41 businesses that actually made application initially to Keda, and now they have to make application to Northland again. But it's essentially the same application. But we're encouraged by that, but there's only $1.1 million available to divvy up, and this is a grant and loan program for basically remodeling Main Street buildings or upgrading buildings. So the other part of that just made it aware of is that Northland would like us to create a scoring committee, a local scoring committee, to help score the various applications that are going to be coming through. So I've started down that process of trying to identify potential committee members that could sit through the application process. So anyway, hopefully we can keep that moving and get some dollars to some of those business owners.
Have all of the previous applicants been notified then?
Yes, but
was there some changes along the way that ended up so that they have to reapply?
Well, yeah. The deed basically, the grantees have to basically have their own process, even though Joanne created the application and put it online. And so the process is that the Northland has to have their own application. So it's essentially the same, very similar to what was out there. So we just want to make sure that everybody gets back, reapplies before that deadline coming up. But
Is there a lot less funding than was initially thought that there was going to be? Or?
yes. Yeah, we assumed that there was going to be more dollars available, and but as it got broken out statewide, it came down to, we thought there was going to be closer to $4 million. In any event, every little bit will help. And that's throughout the county again, just FYI. Cold weather testing, we're booked for the coming season, and that begins in November, goes through March. We're turning away customers at this point, but that's a really good sign. The Jaguar Land Rover, their numbers are coming back to pre-COVID. It won't quite be as busy, but they're building back up. The thing that's happening now is the cost of transporting vehicles, especially over the ocean, has gone up so incredibly high that it's creating some challenges. Good morning. But good news is they're going to be back in number, and then all of our clients are return customers, and I think that speaks volumes about the service we provide, and they like the community and the operation. A couple other last things here. The county applied for a TED grant, which is a transportation grant for the proposed roundabout on 332, the truck route, and 53. Heard some discussion about that, and the county engineer approached me, and the TED grant, while a lot of this project is aimed primarily at safety, they do have an economic impact component of the grant, so he asked me to step in and help out, which I did. Provide some additional basis for that we should find out fairly soon about whether they're successful.
Good.
And then Big Falls introduction, I just wanted to note that Mike and I attended the last Northland Progressive meeting in Northholm, and on the way back we had a chance to stop and meet the new city clerk treasurer in Big Falls, Veronica, am I going to get the name right, Bistudo? Bistudo. Yeah, Bistudo. There you go. Yeah. Anyway, just noted we had a chance to meet her and introduce ourselves. If not, that's all I've got. Any questions?
I didn't hear if you, when will the October, I know the October 14th deadline. When will the funding, do they anticipate funding the successful applicants?
Good question. I think the committee will meet several days after the deadline, and we should have a better sense then of how the time frame after that. But I'm hoping this fall, but the construction season for a lot of folks now, it'll be in the spring. So I'm anticipating it'll be funded, but most of the work will happen next spring.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, is the committee, you presently looking for volunteers, or you?
Yes. I was going to reach out to you, in fact, as a volunteer. Put you on the spot here.
Good choice.
We'll talk. No, it's a little bit complicated in that they don't want conflicts of interest. Well, any former bankers or, there's going to be conflicts if, you're in the public realm at all. So, but we'll come up with some folks. And I've already asked Chairman Rasmussen, and he's willing to do so.
All right. Any questions of Director Neville?
Have we had any interaction over the years lately with Bell Helicopter? I remember they used to be up here all the time.
Thor is, when anything in the aviation realm with cold weather, Thor takes the lead on that. He's had some folks up here from Bell and some Piper aircraft, and there was Textron was up here as part of Bell. He basically reaches out to them every year just to see if they've been testing in Alaska as well. I think last year they went up to Alaska. If we had a bigger facility where they could put the helicopter in a hangar, I think we would get them, as much as they cyclically test, we would get them up here. But that was one of the drawbacks, is that we didn't have a hangar.
Something to think about.
Yeah. But, there's other aviation testing too that occurs.
Other questions of Director Neville? Thank you. Treasurer Holden, welcome.
Thank you.
And we postponed your report.
Till the end, towards the end.
No, we're ready for it.
You ready for it? Okay. So I went through all the bills, both cold weather testing and KEDA, and everything showed good. And put my initials on everything, and so now I'm asking for a motion to pay $20,000 to KEDA for cold weather testing.
And you make the motion.
And I make the motion.
All right.
Second.
And we have a second. Any questions? Councilor Holden. All right, we have a motion and a second to pay the bills and transfer $98,600.
Yeah, that's the other one after this one.
All right.
We're doing cold weather testing this time, $20,000 to KEDA. That's my motion. And then later I'll make a motion to transfer.
All right, from cold weather testing.
Yeah, $98,650 to JLR.
All right.
Yeah.
So you've heard the motion, the motion to pay the bills for Kuching Economic Development Authority. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you. Continue.
Okay, and so KEDA bills, I went through all them. That all showed good, and I initialed my initials on all that, and so make a motion to pay those bills, and also motion for transferring $98,650 to JLR.
All right? We can include that
Yep.
in your
Yeah.
motion.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Pavlik. Further discussion?
I would just note that's the JLR payment, their annual lease payment, $98,650 came, and so we're just putting it into their account.
All right.
Or into our account. Oh, no, it's going to JLR, sorry. Get confused.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just one other thing as it relates to the financial report is we're also planning on repaying the city and county the loan payment for the coal box. This is year 4, so we're planning on making a payment in this cycle to both bodies. And Kyra, what's the approximate number? 38?
38, something.
So that's
30, that's a total, right?
total for each.
Yeah, okay.
So that will take a significant chunk of our, but we are making that payment, so.
All right, that's good news.
Yep.
And when will, how many more is there?
One more scheduled, and I will just be very frank, that we will be looking probably next year to forgive that last payment, just based on, again, our discussion around the budget time was the need for capital investment at the cold weather testing building, especially around electric charging infrastructure. We're going to need some additional dollars for that, and we were going to, traditionally we would go back to the city and county and ask for that, but if we could forgive that last loan payment, we could apply those dollars into EV charging infrastructure. So we'll see where that goes, but that's kind of the plan at this point.
All right. All right, we'll, city and county updates. You can start with you, Treasurer Holden.
Okay. The city is have been having a lot of different meetings. I think last month I had 12 or whatever, and 14 maybe. So we're busy all the time. And Mondays seem to be the one where, like today now, I have 3 meetings. So just to move on, we're right in the process of budget time. So tonight is a budget and finance meeting. And then as president of IFEDA, I'm running a meeting for the budget for IFEDA tonight. So we got 2 special meetings tonight. And that's the way it's kind of been lately, has been a lot of meetings. So if I miss a meeting, I try to look at my calendar, but a little humor maybe. It's hunting season, and sometimes I get out hunting. So, but I actually didn't remember it was in Little Fork today, or I'd have been here earlier.
Oh.
I sat in the terminal building, and then I realized, nobody's coming here. So I must have not picked the right place. So,
Well, none of us did.
oh,
We went down to the city offices,
oh,
and then the person there told us, well, Darcy told me on the way in, so
yeah.
Our bad.
that was in the community building.
Oh, okay.
But this is a beautiful facility,
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so nice, very nice to have us here. Thank you.
Thanks, we wanted to show off the plaza and
Sure.
the gazebo to you,
Sure.
if anybody hadn't seen it.
I just got one more thing to say.
Okay.
We're right in the middle of that budget and finance thing, and so last year we kind of had it up there pretty good for the amount, the percentage. This time we're working on bringing it back down to a level that we'll know tonight what that's going to be. And so, you know, last year it was the reason we asked for, I think it was 13.9% on the percentage rate, was because wanted to fix up infrastructure in International Falls. We got deteriorating water lines, deteriorating sewer lines that need to be addressed, and so we went that route. This time, we're actually bringing it back down, so that's what we're working on right now, to bring that
The levy.
the levy back down, so, yeah.
Challenging times, though, I mean, all
Oh, yeah.
around with
Yeah.
the requests and costs.
Yeah, we got a lot of requests to give money out to this and that, and besides what our regular stuff is, you know, and so it's kind of, I don't know how to word it right, it's kind of makes you not want to sleep very good at times, so.
Well, it was an eye-opener, too. I mean, when
Yeah.
they start talking about roads
Yeah,
and infrastructure, not very sexy stuff, but
yeah,
and it's expensive. Even that 22nd paving, that
Yeah.
3 blocks was
yeah,
$700,000. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the cost of everything is just.
yeah. So, I mean, it's weighing, but I think it's gonna come out, you know, good this, you know, for, to get it back down to a certain level. So it should know tonight pretty much what that's gonna be. And we've had to, you know, a few things we've had to say, hey, we gotta drop what we were given, maybe 20%, to different ones that maybe we've given to over the years. So there's, and then the department heads have made some cuts too, so that's,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Chair. I have a question, Counselor.
Yep.
Earlier, Mr. Nevin gave a brief report on a logistics company and the work that's gone towards a developer's agreement. He's hoping that this can be done in a fairly near future. Is there optimism on
Well,
board level?
You know, I appointed a committee to be on that, you know. I got Harley on there, and I have Joe Kraus on there, and then you have Steve Shermone, the city attorney that's working on it, and Betty Bergstrom. The last I heard was that it was moving along, but then now I haven't heard much, so it's a real good question to ask where we're at. Especially, you know, I'd like to know, President IFEDA, so I'd like to know where we're at, you know,
Yeah.
so.
I did call Betty just to see if there's any updates, and she had none. But the big part of that whole agreement was they've agreed in principle to basically the sale price. You're going to get approximately 40 acres. They're going to sell it for $250,000, and they didn't flinch on that. What they did want to know was, could they pay a portion of that up front, and then upon completion, could they pay the remainder? They're trying to balance out the need, you know, how much money they have available to them right now versus any gaps. And if there's any gaps, then it's like, where do we get, you know, do we go to deed and, you know, or some of these other programs to try to fill? But in principle, they agreed to the dollar amount and the terms, and so
Okay.
it's just a question of fine-tuning some of that.
That's what I had too, and then I was told they were working on the developer's agreement, and I haven't heard any more
Yeah.
lately. It's just, I mean, that's where
Yeah.
where I'm at with it anyways. So, I mean, tonight, that'll definitely be, I'll be asking where we're at, you know, so.
Okay. And Citizen Hanson,
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Commissioner Emeritus.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How long do you got to be gone before you get that?
Just has to, someone just has to address you as that.
Is it with a capital E?
Yes.
Well, it's the best thing ever happened to me.
It's an educational term.
I don't need to know anything either.
Hopefully, yes, you do.
okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And as Mr. Neverton brought up, I and Paul went to North Home the first Wednesday of this month and sat down with a group of folks called the Northland Progressive. They meet monthly. They meet the first Wednesday of the month. And it's a group that's about 25 years old, kinda. because the first group that they had started in 1915, and they've had a continual economic development group or a community economic forum for over 100 years. And it's made up of business people, folks from the school. I know that Commissioner Skoy, I don't think he misses one if he can. So it's really quite well. They work on their fair. They work on a lot of development downtown. And I don't know, Paul, is there anything else that you know that they put their time towards?
Well, the one thing is, all of the smaller communities, it's so difficult to get volunteers or committees, and I look around that table down there, and most of the folks are over 55, 60 years old, and they're tireless. They work really hard at these community development functions, but I just worry about the future when these folks decide that they're going to retire or move on. I just don't see a lot of young people, at this point in time picking up. So it's always a concern is, who's going to be the next generation.
Well,
one of the big
take a look at this too.
Yeah.
one of the main things they're working on towards next year is a new playground, and they're kind of optimistic that that'll happen. So that was a good thing. And we also got to stop and have some palaver with the city clerk in Big Falls, and Paul got to introduce himself, and we sat down and talked. And maybe somebody here knows this, but on the 28th, a couple days from now, 16 commissioners from the GMRPT, must be the state of Minnesota, they're going to be there, and they're going to look at the campground and see the progress. Evidently, they're involved in a lot of the revenue that flowed to Big Falls to see what they're going to do, but 16 of them. So I thought that was pretty impressive, and the fact that they've made it so far and what they've done in Big Falls is a big deal. Every month I chat with Sonia about things that might be migrating to Little Fork, and before you leave, I'd make sure you see the Junkers lumberyard that's going up. I mean, it is impressive. I hope people are taking pictures as it moves on. And the other thing is, if you just want to be impressed with a really good look and small community where we live, before you leave, take a little residential tour and look at the quality of the homes, how they're kept up rather, and it's worth looking at. Yeah, they just do a great job. In northwest Couchiching, there's 702 campaign signs. I counted them. Fall fishing starting. Birchdale's 119 years old this month. So, there's a lot of history there. And I recently saw an article that the people were really disappointed in the 30s that the railroad didn't come through because they were planning on it. In fact, people were making investments in property thinking that they were going to get rich when the railroad came through, but of course that didn't happen.
Mike, is the campground fully open now?
It's fully open. It's probably been open since about the middle of August, and there's a ton of fish. I don't know how many realize this, but in that area there's Franz Jeffney Park, and right next to Franz Jeffney, the county maintains an access that you can get a boat in. There's Nelson Park, there's Frontier, they have a double access at Clemenson, and then a couple places where there was just kind of a roadside where you can pull off and you can shore fish there, or you can spend the evenings or the nights. So it's pretty nice and really well maintained. But just from Birchdale to Clemenson, there are 5 places that the county owns and maintains. And incidentally, I hear a lot from people who are traveling and stop there. How can this be free? And it's free because of an agreement the county has with the state of Minnesota for timber rights. Every natural resource use, including gravel and timber, a certain percentage goes to the county. and that money has to be spent within that area. So they've been able to keep those parks free, and it's made a real impact. So it's really a good deal. Lastly, I stopped at Polkinghorne's Hardware today. You know, I worry that hardware stores like Mike's are fading away. Clean, got all the stuff, and I highly recommend that you try Polkinghorne's seasoning salt. If you go in and you buy one, you might think, oh, I don't know. But within a few days, you're using it on your oatmeal. The other thing I'd recommend is the grocery store here does a lot of their own bratwurst, that kind of thing that they make right there themselves, and you just can't get it better. You just can't. So stop in there and visit them too. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Questions for...
I have one. Back to Northolm, does our past superintendent, Dr. Struess, is he involved?
You know, we got a chance to chat and get a handshake and a small hug from his girlfriend. He's been taking care of his mother for, when it started about, it was going to be a short period of time, and I don't know if you remember, but he resigned from this board because he was going to, his mom was going to take time, probably just in the short term. But I think 5 years have gone by.
Wow.
And that's what he's doing. So we didn't get a chance to talk to him, but
Tell Jerry hi for me.
yeah, wonderful man.
Yeah. I love him.
Any other questions, comments? All right, Commissioner Pavlik, County.
Well, probably the biggest thing on the county's horizon is a new jail. And we're looking at possibly up to $20 million, if you can imagine that. That's going to put a lot of stress on this small county of 11,700 people. So, but we're forced to do it. And in fact, when they gave us the news that we were going to have to take it down, within a few days, they also had us hauling prisoners. We couldn't keep them there for more than 4 days. That cost us a ton of money, and it lasted for 3 weeks. And we made the argument that we're in the process of building a new jail. This isn't the time to make a start. If we were saying, no, we're not going to do it, yeah, that's a different thing. So we got that straightened out. But I'll tell you, it's the DOJ. It's an issue, and we'll see where it goes. We're going to have to do a lot of, we're probably going to have to move the Veterans Memorial, where that was built a few years ago. We're going to have to move that to the front of the courthouse to make room for the wing.
So that's where the location's going to be, is right there?
That's what we're talking about right
Okay.
now. We haven't made anything final, but that looks like the most feasible.
Grand Rapids is doing a new law enforcement center jail, and they actually they took one block that was next to the police station, and that's gone now. That you can't travel through there anymore. That's the whole law enforcement center, that whole block right there. And I would imagine that's going to run about, in Rapids, it's going to run probably 20 million, somewhere in there. So.
Nothing cheap when you go to
No.
build the jail, that's for
No.
sure.
Well, Commissioner, if you would like, I'm sure that we could donate some land in Birchdale. Want to build it there.
It's just so far from the courthouse. We'd have to move the courthouse to Birchdale.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
Had the railroad gone through, it's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
Before International Falls was considered to be the county seat, there were other areas of the county that had as many people, and one of them was Fairland, Minnesota. And there was rumors at that time there was going to be 2 railroads, one from Big Falls and one from International Falls.
On the Black River Road there.
Yeah.
Yep, at the end of the Black River Road. They was given serious consideration to be the county seat, and then hydropower was harnessed in the falls, and it was stolen from the rural area.
So anyway, we'll be proceeding that. We're going to have to get agreements if it's worth it with Vedette and International. So, but we're not quite ready for that yet either. We're going to try to put this together so that everyone knows what they'd be getting.
I think there's a meeting coming up in October between the city and the county.
So that's the big item in the horizon. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Question, if I could. Has there been any additional meetings with General Services Administration about the new customs facility crossing it? Have they sat down with the county and the city yet?
Yeah, they've given us a plan, or, it's not a for sure thing, but what they're looking at.
Conceptual.
Yeah. And it drags over in along the river there. So there'd have to be some movement there too with properties and stuff. But they're in the process. It's going to happen, but they've been kind of dragging their feet too. So I don't know what's up.
A lot of money involved in that.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah. And I noticed too in Rainier, there's a lot of activity in and around they're going to put that new radiation, that's not radiation, it's a new high energy scanner. So they've purchased some homeowners in that entry point there in anticipation of the new bridge as well. So
It is so sophisticated that, the train can roll right through and they're able to pick up everything. It's amazing.
the good news is I'm told that the train will be able to go a little bit faster. The current system, they have can only go 3 miles an hour, I think, so they'll clear faster. But the trains are getting longer, so it's...
Any other comments, updates? Thank you. Questions from our audience? Any comments?
Wade, are they moving the highway engineer out? Is that gonna be out on 332?
That'll be part of it too. Yeah, that building that they're in, of course, and you know better than anyone, and it's an old building and it's probably not worth redoing it. We have to meet certain qualifications nowadays with buildings for the workforce, and so that one will come down.
So the expansion of the jail couldn't go that direction, tear that building down and
Well, we've got,
do the memorial alone?
we have the engineer, or the people, the architects and stuff that are looking at that, and that was one of the ones they did look at that, but at the end, getting prisoners to the courtroom became the issue there. So putting it on the other wing, they'll actually be able to, from upstairs, just walk straight into the courtroom, and that's what they want for safety, and so that's how that ended.
Thank you.
It's going to be quite a.
Yeah.
Can't imagine the work and the money, just crazy. But we got to do it.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much for hosting us. It's always nice to come to.
Good to have everybody come down.
Always nice to come to Little Fork, and and you're a great part of the county, and our authority.
Thank you.
I got my education from Dale, when he was,
Yeah.
he was fun to work with.
All right. The next meeting, the fourth Monday, is October 24th. Does that present any problems for members?
Should be good.
Okay. And we will be back at the airport conference room.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Chair.
And remember, you're always welcome at our meetings, and they have been now for a while, and usually are, the fourth Monday, 10 o'clock, at the Falls Airport Conference Room. Unless we're in Little Fork, or Birchdale,
Or Birchdale.
or Big Fall.
Or Big Ball.
Or the rainbow.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. The meeting's adjourned.
Thank you for